please let me welcome our guest and give him a warm welcome, Peter Sarsgaard. And our lovely host is Marta Balaga from Variety magazine.
Hello, everybody. Dobrý den. How are you today? I'm actually very well because Peter is here. He's still here, didn't run away, even though people tried to scare him away yesterday during the screening, as we just talked. Peter, congrats for this award, President's Award, and I hope it won't break like the Coppa Volpi in Venice, or at least not so quickly.
Yeah, the Volpe is not made as strong as this one. Maggie has one of these from, I guess, Sherry Baby, maybe? It's still intact, been in her office for 10 years. The Volpe Cup, however, my name has slid off the front of it, so now it's a rather anonymous award, which I'm fine with.
We have to talk to Venice about that. This is not okay.
You know, Willem Dafoe actually warned me that in order for it not to tarnish and fall apart, that I had to do a special spray treatment or something, and I decided not to do that.
I'm glad to hear that Willem Dafoe is taking such good care of his awards. I can just picture him spraying all those trophies.
Yeah.
And when I was coming here, I was wondering, why did you choose Shattered Glass to be shown at the festival? And yesterday, when I was watching it again, after so many years, I think I understood, because I was just sitting there thinking, this is about today.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a topic that I've been interested in for a while. I mean, in some ways, September 5 is about some of the same ideas, but to me, it's sort of the basis of a functioning society, right, is to all have the same information from which we have opinions about, right? Like, so you could say the guy across the street, he went into a bank, he robbed it, and he had a gun, and he walked out the front and got on a moped and left. Now, somebody else said a woman walked into a bank, didn't have a gun, left with nothing, and left in a car. And then someone else says, there was no bank robbery. It's all fabrication. I mean, how are we to survive? How are we to elect people? How are we to communicate with each other? So to me, it is so fundamental, just having a common information. Opinions are different. We all obviously have different opinions. But now, the issue with Shattered Glass was that this guy, it was about entertainment, which of course has crept into a lot of journalism, especially journalism that relies on advertising and viewership. So they make everything seem more exciting, frequently embellish. Even I would say 24/7 live coverage of an event is not a good way of getting at the truth, right? The truth requires maybe 24 hours to digest and go, well, our camera was pointed this way, but this was happening over here, and we learned the whole story. So all those issues interest me, and I think were in the movie at the time.
I find it very intriguing when somebody's interested in journalism for selfish reasons. And you also did Mr. Jones, and you played disgraced journalist, another disgraced journalist, Walter Duranty. And I was also thinking about that it's not something that started now, it's something that's been going on for a while. But where does this love for truth or people who are looking for it comes from, do you think?
Well, that's a very personal question, but I would say that I grew up around a lot of fabricators. And I think actually the thing that drew me to acting, because the way that I got into acting was through the Actors Studio. And yeah, method acting, and it's a joke and all that sort of stuff, but like, what I took from method acting was, it's about the truth. It's not about how you wish you would act in a circumstance or you think a person might. It's connecting with, how does someone actually react? How do you actually react when this happens? Not how you wish you would react. And so I think my entire career has been about trying to get at the truth. And I'm telling you, I fail more often than I succeed. But when I do succeed, I find it immensely rewarding. And maybe it has to do with having grown up in an environment where I felt like I was responsible for figuring out what was going on and knowing the truth.
And you also, I think I've heard the story before about when they called you to audition for Shattered Glass. You were on holidays in Costa Rica, so you just came straight with flip-flops.
I'm telling you, it was not just an ordinary trip to Costa Rica. So my friend that I was there with is the actor Eben Moss-Bacharach, who's in The Bear. He plays Cuz. We've been friends for 30 years. And this was like Hunter S. Thompson does Costa Rica at the time. So we were, from day to day, we had no idea where we were going. We were in a four-wheel drive. We were fording through rivers. We were getting stuck. We were not sober. We were meeting random people and going down rabbit holes and into people's houses. I mean, to travel with Eben at that time, we've both cleaned up our acts completely, basically, truly. It was really fun. It was an adventure. I mean, he and I, on that trip, decided to go on a hot air balloon ride, and randomly. And we went up, and we were next to Arenal, which is an active volcano. And we came back down in this field, and all these school children came out, and they tied up the hot air balloon, and all day long we were giving kids rides that we would just go up like 100 feet and come back down. And that's what it was like to not have children, be traveling with your best friend, and just be like, today it looks like we're giving kids rides in a hot air balloon, you know? You know, it's different after you have children because you have responsibilities and, you know, your life becomes more important. So yeah, when I showed up for the audition, I was literally in flip-flops, in surfer shorts. I'd been surfing earlier that day. I'd gotten on the plane. I looked like a total delinquent. And
I'm a little bit disappointed you didn't do it today. I was hoping for it secretly.
And to Billy Ray's credit, he saw that I could do it somehow. I mean, I really thought there was no way I was going to get this job, you know, but I did.
But why did you want it so much? Because when you come like that, straight from a plane, it really means that you want it. And why did you want it so much? Because Chuck, he's such a straight guy. He's a good guy. People want to play villains, and we're going to talk about that as well later on. But what did you see in him? Why did you like him so much?
I've never wanted to play the villain. It's other people that want me to play the villain. And when I do play the villain, I pretend I'm not playing the villain. And when I play the good guy, I probably pretend I'm playing the villain. Because I tend to add what is missing. Because when people write things down, they're not thinking, I mean, most writers of screenplays are not, they're like, well, this is the guy that the audience has to like, and this is the guy that they have to hate. And when I get it, I'm looking at it like, well, I have to play that person. And there's no such thing as Superman. And there's no such thing as the devil. And so I just add what's missing, you know.
It's true, because when I was rewatching some of those films last week, I was just thinking that this is what you do. You make the good guys bad, you make the bad guys good, and I know it sounds like a Taylor Swift song, but it's just something you know how to do. And especially with those villains. I told you yesterday that I saw Boys Don't Cry only once. Never going to see it again because it's burned in my brain still. It freaked me out. You freaked me out. I know that you freaked Ebon out when he was shooting your audition tape.
Yeah, Eben, we've been friends for years. I was doing a show called Freak City with Sandy Stern in Toronto. Sandy's right here. He produced it. And Eben came up to my room, and I auditioned on tape. And he was very sensitive, but we just met, and he suddenly thought that I was not who he thought I was. I will say this about that character. I always look for an in, like a hook for someone. What is the thing that makes me be able to get in there? And I learned that John Lotter had an IQ of like 70 something. I think a normal functioning IQ is above 100. And the guy that he did the crime with had a very high IQ. The guy he did the crime with didn't get killed, didn't go to death row, ratted his friend out, pinned the murder weapon on him. I mean, it was like, and this guy was just kind of hapless. And I started thinking like, of what it means to like really not understand what you're doing, you know, and the terror of like a different sexuality in front of you that you've never experienced. This is not a man, it's a woman. And just like how scary that would be for someone who had never encountered it. And also someone where masculinity was probably the only thing that he had in his life. I mean, he didn't have anything else. And so he clung to that, and then it was being challenged by this other guy who was not a guy. And I just thought, I tried to really not judge that and just get interested in it, you know.
It's another film that feels very timely, unfortunately.
I hope that people still watch that movie. That's one of the ones, you know, you make these movies sometimes and you go like, have they been carried along by the world? You know, there's new movies that come out all the time, and then only some of them from the past still get watched now and then. And that's one that I think would be worth carrying along. Yeah.
And you said once that you don't mind being manipulated as an actor. And I've heard that Kimberly liked to whisper a little bit inappropriate things in your ear on set. Is that really the case? Is that how she was trying to get you into that role?
Oh, yeah. Have you guys ever seen like a documentary about the making of Rosemarys Baby? And you see...
that doesn't sound great.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, you know, obviously Cassavetes and Mia Farrow, and Roman like goes, cut. He walks over and walks by Mia Farrow, and he takes her hand. You can watch this, it's on film. Takes her hand and he moves it. And then he walks over and he has a conversation with Cassavetes about the scene. Then he comes back and you're seeing Mia Farrow, and she's like, I'm gonna put my hand where I want to put my hand. And then he walks back and he takes her hand and he puts it like that and he calls action. And during the take, she's going, I can put my hand where I want to put my hand. Well, this is a woman who's pregnant with Satan's baby, and her agency is being taken away from her, and I'm sure he did that on purpose, right? Kim Pierce, it was a little more direct. Like, she walked up to me on day one. She said a couple of things. One of them was, God, you are such a pussy. I thought I'd hired a man. And I'm like in character as John Lauder, who only has his masculinity, his any kind of power in the world. And I was like, okay. The other thing she told me was, she said, I thought I'd cast someone with, in the video, it looked like you had cheekbones. You know, all these things that just made me like insecure and angry, and it was like kind of constant. And I did not have trouble accessing a lot of the feelings in that movie at that point. So you have to be very good at it if you're going to manipulate an actor, to me. I mean, there's ways of manipulating an actor that are just pointless, you know? Or if they're already doing it, you don't have to do it, right? Like, the person's already giving the performance. There's no... I heard a director say to an actress once, this is not a good form of manipulation. She said, how was that taken? He said, you look like an actor trying to win an award. No, well, you might as well go home. That's like end of everything. So, you know, you have to be skilled. It's not a... Actor-director relationships aren't like relationships we have in life. They don't have to be like, you know, we're going to marry each other or be friends. It's the case with Michel Franco. We are friends.
Yeah, he came here just to make sure that we only talk nice things.
That I don't say anything?
We will, Michel, don't you worry. But I'm still shocked that you stayed after the line about cheekbones, I would go. That would be enough.
Fine. I sucked in my cheeks after that. You know.
But something you just said, that some films stay, some films are known. And what I like about those conversations is that we always get to talk about films that are not that known. And for some reason, people still love them. And this is the dying goal.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know what's happening today, but all those films that we discussed, they are timely. Yeah. And especially the way, just for people who might want to discover it afterwards, it is about filmmaking. It is about many things, but it's also about filmmaking. And there's this line that people don't go to cinema to feel bad or to learn anything.
Yeah, that's what I play a screenwriter in it. And I've written like a great screenplay, and he plays this producer, and he goes, you know, the thing is, people don't go to the movies to feel bad or learn anything. And I've thought about that a lot. And sometimes I think, like, when I'll read a script, I'll be like, this is great. We shouldn't count on American distribution. Because especially Americans don't go to the movies to feel bad or learn anything. The other thing that was interesting about that movie was, you know, the euthanasia aspect of the movie. You know, I helped my lover die in it, who's played by Bill Camp, who's a wonderful actor. And I don't know, I think that film for me, the reason I like it has to do with the experience I had making it, because it was before I had children, and I went so deeply into a character that was so far away from me. I mean, like, when I read it, part of the reason I wanted to do it was because I couldn't imagine playing it, you know? And I actually have not seen the film since I saw it at Sundance. You know, this is all my memory of the film. So, it's the same thing with Shattered Glass. You know, like, I don't rewatch things that I do. Sometimes I never watch things that I do because I'm sort of protecting my point of view, my experience. What people do with that is not my job. I can tell from audiences if what I was putting out got picked up. That's interesting to me. I'm interested in what people have to say about it. But for me to watch it is, I watched Memory a couple of times, actually, because it was very interesting to see the difference between what I thought I was doing and what happened. They were different, you know.
There is this scene in The Dying Goal when your character thinks that he's actually talking to his dead lover. I don't know if he believes it, if he wants to believe it, but it just happens for him. And it's just your face for a bit. It's all this pain. I always get uncomfortable when I see scenes like this because there is nothing to hide behind. It's just you and the camera. Do you like those scenes? Do you like to be that vulnerable?
I get a lot of anxiety before doing some scenes, and it's not like I've decided what I'm going to do. I don't say I'm going to do this in the scene, but there'll be some scenes where I know something, you know, I'm going to be talking to my dead lover. That's a big thing to try to imagine doing. And I will, it's funny, even like talking about it, I can like feel the feelings of it, you know? So it's almost like I feel unhinged a little bit, like my hands are probably shaking. And then the camera focuses me, calms me. The camera actually helps me remember my lines usually. And when I went to go do it, Bobby Bukowski, who was the DP on that movie, he was probably the guy that I thought of as being my lover. He's a gay man who's an incredible guy. And he would greet me every day with, "Good morning, homo." And I just adored him, you know? And so I knew when I was looking at the camera that his eye was on the other side of the camera. So I'm like, it's very hard to play into the lens because you're constantly reminded that you're being filmed, right? Like, actors don't like that. You want to, the way that we cope with the fact that we're being filmed is to have another actor there that you can create a reality that's not including the camera. So I could just see right in there and see Bobby, you know, and it was very, very, very powerful. And I also told the director on a couple of scenes like that, Craig, I said, make sure it is all set up perfectly. Because that feeling that I'm talking about of about to give birth, kind of, only happens for the first couple of takes. So I said, we're going to do this in one take, and we did.
It's very touching and strange what you do in this film. And I could say the same thing about memory. Michelle, if you want, you can join us for this conversation. I remember seeing this film for the first time and just almost not wanting to watch it because it was so sad and so funny and so strange again. You seem very proud of this role. I remember when you were picking up the award in Venice, you talked about your uncle. It felt personal. Would you mind talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, my uncle had CTE, which is plaque on the brain from playing. He was a center in football, American football. The center is the one who gets hit every play, and you're in a very vulnerable position, right? You're like this, and then you go like that to give it to the quarterback, and then you go forward, and someone hits you in the head. So he did that, and then he boxed. He boxed Golden Gloves, and then he was a fireman. So he started exhibiting signs of dementia in his 40s, actually, in his late 40s. And, you know, when you're around somebody who's first going through something like that, like, we were all like, got hit on the head too many times. You know, it's like a joke. It's only when they get diagnosed that everybody suddenly goes, oh, and you start treating the same symptoms like they're dire. It's the same guy with the same symptoms. We now know what it's going to do. It's going to go downhill. But we started kind of restricting his behavior a lot, and there was no reason to, right? Like, he's the same guy as he was yesterday. Now they just call it dementia. Yeah, we know where it's going, but today he's the same guy as he was yesterday. He drove the car yesterday. He can drive the car today. So when I got it, I was very interested in like what the character could do more than what the character couldn't do. I also wanted to play him as someone who was really ready to live, you know, and not spending a lot of time thinking about dying, you know. That was for my brother to think about in the film. So, and Michelle was really great. You know, like, the thing with Michelle was, I mean, I don't know if that was in the script or not, but I probably was. But he allows, if you look like you have a point of view and you're after it, Michelle's going to let you do it. You know, there are not many people that are willing to let go of the reins as much as he is. You know.
And whenever I interview actors, very often they talk about research. If somebody's playing a firefighter, they're going to go hang with firefighters. But I was always thinking, isn't it a little bit strange, especially if you play somebody who's sick, for example, or who's suffering? How do you tell them, I would like to just look at you for a bit?
Study your disease. Show me some dementia. What's going on in your dementia life? Yeah, that's why I'm not a big... People want to hear actors talk about research because it's a way of describing something that's kind of difficult to describe. The way that I do research is like I walk around and daydream. I mean, mostly. And it's mostly got to do with, you know, I read the script a lot. I probably read the script before I'm about to do something like once a week. When I'm filming it, I don't read the script at all. But it's not that important to me. You know, like I was saying, I'm about to play a brain surgeon, And I've gotten really into doing the research on brain surgery, mostly because it's really interesting to go see someone get their brain operated on. And I have access. And so it's like, I don't know how important that is for the role, that I look like I know how to operate on a brain. I mean, that's not going to be in the movie. His attitude toward other people, does it need to be the same as this surgeon's attitude toward other people? Every surgeon's different, just like every person's different. You know, people talk about like a surgeon's attitude toward the patient, or they're very cold. I saw a patient and his surgeon playing chess together before a surgery. So like, not every one of them is cold. I can decide what I want to do. And I don't know, I think I only do research if it sounds like it's going to be fun. Otherwise, I don't bother with it, you know.
But this is another film where I think this empathy that you seem to have for characters who are struggling comes into place. I know that you have a religious background. I do too, which is why I'm curious about it. Do you think that this allows you maybe to see good and evil in all these characters and don't find it strange? Was there ever a case where you just thought, this is a little bit too far, I can't find
Totally. There's
both
one
traits?
role that I passed on because of the character, and it was a pedophile. I can't do that. Partly because you're acting with children, and I can't, I don't want to think about that around children. So that's something I won't do. But I'll do almost anything else. You know, the thing I'll say about being raised Catholic, and I'm not, look, I'm a Catholic that is pro-choice. I'm a Catholic that believes you can be any sexuality you want to be. So I'm probably excommunicated at this point. But
now you will be.
Now you will be. The part of it that really, I think, has to do with acting the most, yeah, there's, you know, some of the obvious things you were just talking about, but like when I would get communion, sometimes I would take it home because in my mind, it was the body of Christ. I made it the body of Christ. Who wouldn't want to take the body of Christ home? Why just eat it right away, right? So I would take it home and I would really take it in my room like, oh my God, you know? And I think that has a lot to do with acting. I think like the parts of Catholicism that are like belief that is, it's somehow more than other religions to me. My wife is Jewish, and like the thing I like about Judaism is it's like practical and a dialectic and communal, and there's a part of Catholicism that is a solo journey. It's like when we all kneel and pray after we get communion, you're not, you could do it by yourself. You know, it's like it's only you. And I guess that's the aspect that's similar, you know. I found it very hard a couple of times being an altar boy. Like, this is a funny story. I was an altar boy once, and so I would ding the bell during, you know, and a priest once messed up and said, Christ, this sack over is pacified, therefore let us feed the beast. And I was like, I'm leaving. You know, like because I really believed that like something had taken over this guy. We're not safe anymore, you know? So now I think I'm more of like, I ask all the same questions that everybody else asks, and I don't have any answers. Like, what happens when you die? What happened when you were born? I have no clue anymore. My belief system is shattered, I think, by just a lifetime of witnessing terrible things happen to people, you know.
Oh, those funny stories from the church. We all have a couple of those.
Yeah.
The things I've seen, trust me.
Yeah.
But you mentioned your wife, and of course, we have to talk about it a little bit. Maggie Gyllenhaal, the lost daughter was such a lovely film and such a big discovery for so many people, I think, who didn't know what to expect or who didn't want to expect anything. Let's face it. And your character, this is another one of those guys where you think he could be controversial or he could be tricky, but he is, again, very honest and very seductive. How is it to play? Because this is the kind of relationship that I guess is frowned upon today a little bit, maybe considered a little bit inappropriate, but you made it believable and you made it sweet also.
I mean, what is inappropriate? You know, to me,
nothing in Czech Republic.
Yeah, to me, that is a consensual relationship and one where both people are being totally honest with each other. I have a problem with kind of the way she is with her children, you know, in the phone in that scene. I thought that guy was straight as an arrow. I don't have any problem with him. Yet many people come up to me and they say, what an asshole, what a creepy dude. Like, actually, in the TV show I did with my brother-in-law, to me that guy is also just a guy who lives by himself with his cat and is trying to do a good job, you know, under impossible circumstances. There's some characters that I am very protective over, and definitely the one in my wife's movie. I mean, for me, it was just really nice to be the object of desire. You know, I don't get to be that all the time. And the fact that my wife cast me in a role that I think, you know, if a man makes the movie, then that part's a woman, and she's gorgeous and charming and smart, and I got to be all those things. You know, to me it was fantastic. And it was also only really, you know, like I just did another film with my wife, The Bride, and when my wife directs, because we have children, I can't play a big role in the movie. We've got a 13-year-old, and somebody's got to be with the kid. So what was nice about that part in The Lost Daughter was we were on Spetses, on this island. It's during COVID. We didn't have to wear masks. We're all quarantined for 14 days, and then we could just hang out. And I hung out with my children all morning. They would go to school over Zoom in the afternoon at 3 o'clock. And then Maggie would always schedule my acting for after that. I only had a couple of days of acting, and maybe I had like 5 days of acting in the movie. And the rest of the time I just got to like go to set and support them and, you know, hang out. It was wonderful. Yeah.
What should we expect from The Bride? It sounds like a very intriguing story. Is it set in the 30s? Do I remember it right? Mm-hmm.
It's set in the 30s. But it's like also not set in the 30s. I mean, it's a love story. It's like an ecstatic love story between two monsters. It's about the monster in all of us, I suppose. And I think it will... It's funny. We had an acting teacher named Penny Allen who is the biggest influence in my life, acting, the biggest influence in my wife's life, Holly Hunter's life, Nicole Kidman's life, Matthew McConaughey's life, Jake's life. She was the acting teacher. She passed away. And she told my wife one time, she said, you haven't, you know, when she was an actress, she said, you haven't achieved your full potential. And when you do, people are going to stand up and yell, help! And I think that's what's going to happen when people watch this movie. I think it's provocative, dangerous, revolutionary, sexy, punk. And I'm sure some people are going to have strong reactions to it. But I think it's an incredibly brave movie. I just can't even believe that it was allowed to be made on some level. So I can't wait to see people's reaction with that movie. No one is going to be like, oh yeah, it's nice. It's not that kind of movie.
Strong reactions are the best. I think Lars von Trier gets very upset if nobody leaves the cinema. So there you go.
I had many Zooms with Lars von Trier about doing a movie with him once, and he's someone that I just think is, look, even when it's not his best movie, it's better than most people's movie. You know, I mean, he's insanely talented. But the movie that I was talking to him about doing, when I read it, parts of it made me want to like throw up. You know, I mean, it was revolting. And yet I was like, I'm in, if you want me. He didn't. He thought I wasn't American enough because of my last name, I think.
Which one was that? The film that you discussed
Matt Dillon
with him?
did it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The house that Jack built. Okay.
Yeah, which is, if you've seen it, definitely
revolting is one way to do it. Yeah. I have to say that I can't imagine working with my husband. It would end badly, violently, and suddenly. And you keep on doing it, and you seem to really enjoy it. I notice the way you talk about each other. You also talk about each other as actors, as artists, not just about you as partners. Was it always like that, or did you have to kind of figure out a way to do it?
No, Maggie and I met like at a dinner. I didn't know she was an actress. Secretary had not come out. And she was just this like bright woman who was so interesting. We talked all the way through that night at her manager's house. Didn't wake up, sat on a bench outside. In the morning, her manager woke up and was like, you guys are still going? We went shopping with her manager, you know, to have like a safe person between the two of us. Went through all of that day and then had coffee at the end of the day. And I was like, not only have I fallen in love, but this is like my artistic partner. And even if our names are not on things that the other person has done, the other person's, you know, fingerprint is on it. And I would not be the actor I am without my wife. And I think also it's from doing theater together. We've done a fair amount of theater together. And sort of the thing about theater is because when you're acting in a film, there's less exploration, right? You like do a scene once and maybe do it 20 times, but it's only on that day. Play, you just keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And I found someone who was abstract and random like me and as unsettled as I am and never lands on something and keeps it. Like, even if I do something and it works, I go, well, I did that and it worked. Let's try something that doesn't work. Let's keep trying something else. Like, I have a kind of restless mind, and so does my wife. I think that's where we're similar.
And I'm glad you mentioned theater, because that's how it all started for you, right? You were doing a play. Tim Robbins came to see you specifically, and that's how you got Dead Man Walking. Yeah. Why was he there? Is it a rude question to ask? Because you were completely unknown at that point.
Well, the playwright was famous and had just won a Pulitzer Prize. His name was Horton Foote. And actually, Horton Foote started my career. I'd never had a job, and I went into an audition, and Horton Foote actually started Robert DePaul's career, Matthew Broderick's career, a number of people. And I walked into the audition with Horton, and it was way up high in a building in New York, and I hadn't been, you know, as a kid I'd gone to New York, but it was like a different part of New York. I was like in an office building up high, and I went over to the window, and I was looking out the window for a while, and he said, "Where are you from?" And I was like the South and Midwest. And he was like, "Oh, okay." He started talking to me, and I went down, sat in the chair to read for the part, and he goes, "You have the part. Go ahead and read it." And I was like, amazing. So I read the part. I still had the part. And so he was sort of famous. I mean, he was very famous, right? He wrote Trip to Bountiful. He wrote a screenplay for To Kill a Mockingbird, which he, I think, won an Academy Award for. He was friends with Harper Lee, who I also met through him. And Tim, I think, was just going to see the play, from what I understand. And the funny thing is, I would get killed in that play in the third act. And so what I like to do is go up to the light booth and watch everyone's reaction to hearing the news of me dying. It made me feel good to watch them cry. And meant they cared about me. And I remember looking down and I saw Tim and Susan sitting there. And I was like, oh, shit, amazing. And he came up afterwards and said, would you like to audition for this movie I'm doing? I said, yeah. I went and it was my first audition for any movie. So I had this feeling of about to give birth beforehand, very, very strong, because I knew that the scene he wanted me to do was watching my girlfriend get raped and to improvise that. Like I'm on my knees, gun to my head. He said, just improvise. What would you say? And I tried not to weep, and I tried not to scream, and I tried to just like reason with the person, you know? Which I guess is what I would do, right? Crying and screaming is not going to get them to stop. You know, I was like trying to really imagine what I would do. I ended up very emotional at the end. And he came up and he goes, can you do that again? And I said, not right now. And I said, but I think I could, like in a movie. And he said, okay. Well, if you can't, we can always just cut to your hands, like shaking or something. And I said, you're not going to cut to my hands. And he's like, oh, all right. So he cast me. It was pretty great.
It's another harrowing film. I often like to see the first films that, you know, that future stars did. And sometimes you can find all sorts of things, horror films, critters. I mean, this must be one of the best first films ever, when you think about it. And
he wanted me, Tim wanted me to maybe be a ghost, like in reflections and stuff like that. So I played the victim. Sean has killed me and my girlfriend. And he had the idea that sometimes, it was not a good idea, but that and actually, for a brief moment, in a reflection, I am Sean in the movie, you can find it. But he had me come virtually every day, watch Sean act, and I would be there just in case. So I had a front row seat to the best actor of his generation, in my opinion. Like, maybe giving the best performance he ever gave. And I learned so much, so much. And I would actually even, I mean, there's Penny Allen, and then I also learned from Sean Penn. And he was so relaxed, even in the most upsetting scenes, he would just be like, ice, cool, Sean. Nothing makes him... You know, many actors, I think the thing that gets in their way is just nerves. You can act really well if we were just doing it in your living room with nobody watching. But you have a crew and time, and at that time, film costing money. We only have a certain amount of it. We have to get on to the next scene. And just learning how to deal with anxiety is a huge part of film acting. That's like maybe number 1 or number 2. And so just watching him deal with it, which was kind of mysterious to me, but was really helpful. Do you still get nervous, or that's done? I get the I'm about to give birth feeling, which maybe is sort of like nervous, but only for certain scenes. I get a little bit nervous right before I start, like walking to set. Especially early on in filming, you don't know what it's going to be like. But even later, you know, a little bit nervous. But then, like I said, the camera has become my friend. So when the camera rolls, I remember my lines. It's like, it turns out like I'm really good with a gun to my head. You know, everything occurs to me. Some people forget. I remember. Thank God. That's why I think I could be a brain surgeon. I'm pretty sure. Because I'm good under pressure. This brain surgery keeps coming up. I'm getting a little bit worried. Well, no, it's because this is what happens with me. It's like I'm pregnant with being a brain surgeon. I'm actually currently doing sci-fi, but the thing with sci-fi, I'm doing Neuromancer, the William Gibson novel. But with science fiction, let's be honest, the set and the clothing are 80% of it, and then you just give another 20% and you're done. You know, unless you're Gary Oldman in The Fifth Element, and then there's a lot to do.
Everybody gave a lot in that film, I would say. I wanted to check if we have any questions from the audience. We're going to give you mics, I think. If not, I'm going to give you mine. So if you have any questions, just raise your hand, and we're going to... There's somebody over there. And should I throw it? I can throw it. No, it's coming. Just keep your hand up so we can see you. Yeah, and we are coming. I can't believe Fifth Element just came up.
I kind of love
it should
the
always
Fifth
come
Element.
up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
forgotten
I would have
gem.
loved to have been in that movie with tape on my body.
Dressed as Mila, exactly.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you for being here. Actually, I have two questions. What do you advise actors nowadays that social media is becoming so important and it's kind of like blocking our opportunities for us actors that don't have like a presence in social media? Do you think we should use that medium, or do you think we should still fight for our art without social media? And the second question is about what would you advise for people that are dealing with creative block? Thank you.
You know, I don't know much about social media. You know, I think I have an Instagram thing that other people do for me.
You think?
We're going to check it out. I don't really consume it or do it. What I will say is, you're lucky that you live in a time where you could make a movie on an iPhone. Don't wait for Warner Brothers to call and offer you the, you know, supporting part. Like, make it, do it. It's not hard. Make a short film, you know, and get your friends involved. Create a community. Community is really important. Find other people that are like-minded in terms of your taste, or challenge your taste, or just find people. Seems to me there are a lot of them. I would say, in terms of creative block, look, I'm also a writer, and I'm a writer that I guess it's like the opposite of creative block or something. Like, I write every day as a practice, no matter what, and I don't judge it, and I don't try to be the best. I think the thing that, for me, what I see with creative block is it's people thinking they have to be a genius. You don't have to be a genius, you know? Don't judge it, just write it, just do it. Your judgment is the thing that is creating the problem. So, yeah, I think that's, you know, Michelle says something very interesting, because Michelle, if you want to talk about how to get over creative block, talk to this guy. Michelle works more than most directors. He just does it. He has friends that have trouble, and his advice always is just get it out. Just get it out. You know, vomit it, whatever fucking way you have to get it out. But sit down and do it. Get rid of judgment. So.
Thank you. Another one here.
Hi, Peter. Joy to listen to your discourse.
Okay.
The rise of artificial intelligence and the extent to which creative arts are developing in places like India and China. What are your thoughts about, is it a tool, the enemy, is it evolving? How would you reflect on what the future may look like 5 years from now?
I don't want to get doomsday.
It's going to be like the Fifth Element.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the issues with AI and creativity are less of a problem than the bigger issue that, you know, in 5 years they'll have AI that is smarter than all of our brains on the planet put together and can instruct itself to be more. You know, it's too terrifying to talk about. You can go watch videos on the internet and not sleep like I've done. In terms of using it with art, look, if it helps you get over your creative block, if you could interact with it on some level, I've never done it. I don't know how to use it. I can understand how that could be helpful, like kind of having a thesaurus kind of thing. Maybe I'm like such a Luddite that I am underestimating AI, but this is what I've thought about with AI. Sometimes you were just talking about like making a film on your own and stuff like that. Like, you know, if you wanted to have, I think it's relatively easy. I have a thing I'm writing right now that requires a stadium full of people is part of it. I think that's pretty cheap and easy to do these days. So like, I'm okay with like massive crowd replacement and that sort of stuff. I know the extras are gonna hate me for that, but like, sure, we'll have some extras and then we'll just make 60,000 people in a stadium. Sounds good to me. I can't hire 60,000 people. So that type of thing, I get it. I just know that it's gonna get abused, and what's gonna happen is we're gonna end up with the same stories told in different ways. You know, we all loved Back to the Future. Back to the Future was one of my favorite movies growing up. We're gonna see 20 different versions of Back to the Future. I mean, AI has not got, like, to my knowledge, sort of the outside-the-box, personalized, human capability. It's got, like, it's gonna reference all the things that succeeded already, you know? Could AI make Breaking the Waves? Breaking the Waves is about, it's so different than other things and so deeply human. I don't know, it seems impossible to me. I think, and if we get out of touch with humanity, I mean, I think this is what I do. Like, these feelings I'm talking about that I have when I'm acting are my contribution so that other people will go like, oh yeah, so that we don't all become robots, so that we don't all disassociate over the time. Hopefully I wake somebody up who watched The Dying Gaul and goes, right, I had a lover die. I wish I could have helped them die more easily. You know, that's like, or I helped someone die and God, I feel terrible about it. Was that the right thing? You know, like these are, can a computer come up with that? I don't think so. So it's very complicated. I know that there's some very fancy established filmmakers that are using it now, but I don't believe in it. You know, could AI do a Cassavetes movie?
Could AI do something like The Sound of Silence, which was another very tender performance of yours?
Yeah, and very weird, but like the reason I wanted to do that movie is that guy's point of view on the world is very, very strange. I was like, I want to put your glasses on, you know. So yeah, was there a question over there? Yeah.
We're coming.
Hi. Well, it's a pleasure to be here and listen to you. You use an analogy that it's giving birth. How would you describe the after feeling of that? Because I think it's great, amazing. I never did gave birth before, but how do you feel after that? And you decide to do it every time, like consciously, or is it like, how do you do that? How do you feel after that?
That's interesting. I think when I first started, I did more creating. You know, I would like listen to music and things like that before I did certain scenes, and maybe in a way try to access the feeling or the state that I thought I should be in. I don't do that at all anymore. I just think about the given circumstances, where I'm coming from, what I want, who I want it from, and the feeling starts to happen almost for certain scenes like Pavlovian, right? Like, here I am again in this circumstance, and the bell rings and my mouth is watering, and all these physical things happen to me in certain situations, like they do in life, right? Like if I'm playing someone who's going to give a speech, my mouth gets dry. I didn't like try to make my mouth dry. So I think it's Pavlovian at this point, but it's because I've been doing it for a long time also. And I'm relaxed and comfortable enough to not try to create something, but to let something inside of me surprise me, you know? Like, people laugh at funerals. You don't know what you're going to do, you know? Yeah, and I would say what the feeling afterwards, I don't want to like give you another, it's a little bit like having had an orgasm. You know, like you're tired and giggly and elated and want to sleep and maybe want to do it again in 15 minutes. Something like that.
Okay, and I have a second question, if I'm allowed. Why do you think you do what you do? Why do you act? Is it more than passion? Is it because you're a sensitive person? Is it because you're full of emotions? Why is it? Do you have a reason?
I mean, the reason changes all the time. When I first started, the reason was I was an only child who was extremely quiet. I never spoke. I only acted twice when I was a kid. Once was for a class where we had to give a speech from Shakespeare, and I really didn't want to do it. I did Friends, Romans, Countrymen, lend me your ears, you know. And I just hated doing it. And then I also played Linus in the Peanuts gang. Don't worry, Charlie Brown, we'll get your kite out of the tree, that guy.
It's a good combination.
Yeah, so the short answer to that is I first did it to find my voice, to be heard, to have people be forced to listen to me. And I didn't even know that I wanted that until this woman, Karen Schmulin, who I was very attracted to and never told her I was attracted to. I mean, I was not a guy that hit on women at all. I was just like a quiet person who had fantasies and ideas about people and listened to people's conversations, but never contributed very much. It's really changed. Anyone will tell you now I'm like a chatterbox. But like, so when I first did it, I went into this class and they gave me this play, Bent, which is a play about the Holocaust, about homosexuals in the Holocaust. And it was a scene where a character has to have sex with a dead woman to prove that he's heterosexual. And lo and behold, I just like did it. You know, like it, and I had an enormous amount of feeling come out. I don't know that I'd even like wept in my life. And it was like, oh, wow, I felt like I had came for the first time in my life. And so I was just like, I want to do that again, just for the feeling. Then that got old. Then people wanted me to do it all the time because I am somebody who, after I discovered all these emotions in me, everybody wanted to see them all the time. And then I got tired of doing that. And I would get really angry at directors that wanted me to show emotion. And I would be like, I don't have to cry in this scene. I can actually be happy in this scene. Don't tell me how to feel. And I really resisted it. And then I think now I've discovered more like, if I'm really human in a story that's about something, it makes it very present and real for people. And maybe the director's intentions for why they're telling the movie, whether it be a political reason, a personal reason, will really resonate, their idea. And I'm really into that now, because I've run out of my ideas. I'm like, I love collaboration. I'm like, this person needs to make this movie for this reason. Great, I'm on board. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we might have time for one more question if anybody still wants to raise their hands.
Are you serious about quitting acting and becoming a full-time surgeon?
So the question was, I'm just going to repeat it. Are you serious about becoming a full-time brain surgeon and quitting acting? Thank you very much, Michel Franco. It's a pleasure to have you at the festival again.
I will say, guys, I think I could do it. I thought I did, you know, it's like one of these things where when I first walked into the OR, like I remember watching him wash his hands for fucking ever, up to the elbow. And I'm washing my hands. And I'm like, oh, am I going to like pass out? What's going to happen? I have no idea. Like, what happens if I pass out? He's like, are you okay with blood? And I'm like, yeah. I don't know if I'm okay with brains, you know? Or like the smell of sawing into a skull. Or, you know, they do this cut and they push. I mean, I won't gross you out. But I got in there, and he makes me stand with my hands behind my back, like this far away. And he started doing it. And I did sculpture a lot when I was a kid. And I started looking at it like, oh yeah, so if you do that, and you pull that up like that, and then you take the thread and you make this like this, you can make the incision like that. That's interesting. Oh. And, you know, sometimes the person's awake. They do awake surgery, which we're going to be doing in the film. And to watch a person with this happening, and they're doing that, and we're playing music, and I was like, I'm really good at this. So look out. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen after this movie. It's not brain surgery.
I think another take on Silence of the Lambs is coming, and you will be perfect in it.
This is what's really remarkable about it. We did a surgery. The surgeon did a surgery. I met the family beforehand. He has 3 daughters. I have 2 daughters. The dad's in the waiting room. They don't see what's happening, obviously, right? And you go out, and we're like, and I'm with the guy, and he's like, the surgery went well, and they're all really relieved, you know. And he said, and she'll be leaving in 3 days. We just cut a hole in her head and fished some shit out that was like this big. And I saw her again those 3 days later, be reunited and walk out of the hospital. And I thought, she's just now going to go live her life. It wasn't malignant. She's just going to go like live her life now. God, if I could do something where it was like, I did something on a Tuesday, and on a Friday, they were totally had a new lease on life. Imagine how amazing that would be. I mean, acting, it's like I do it, and then 2 years later, I've forgotten about the movie. I'm on to brain surgery or something else. And in a way, I'm not connected to the film from a while ago, and I don't get to have the immediate sensation. That's what theater is for, really. I do it, and then they react, which is why every actor likes theater. Yeah.
And of course, it's not brain surgery, but acting, it is important, and films are important, and art, and so on. And of course, it's a little bit strange to go from brains to Václav Havel, but we can do it. And I really found it so inspiring what you said, quoting him here. Do you feel like you have to talk about politics now, or just tell people that we can't be so divided anymore, or does it feel natural to you?
Is it politics to say that we shouldn't be divided? I mean,
Good point.
There are many things that divide us. The internet divides us, isolates us. Instagram, all of that stuff is isolating and divisive, and all of that. It's not even politics I'm talking about. I'm talking about like modern culture. We're not divided here. Like I don't even think of myself as a political person. You know, in some ways, you know, my daughter is not a political person, but she's going through the repercussions of having raised her voice politically in the United States right now, and is facing charges and stuff like that, and having to leave her school. She's not a political person. We are interested in humanity. We're interested in togetherness. Václav Havel, to me, was somebody in 1989. I was a senior in high school, and I thought he was just incredible. He's so brave. I learned all about him. I read his plays. I've read his book on totalitarianism. I was like really interested in him because he was a man that knew what sacrifice was. It seemed to me he was like from a wealthy family, so far as I know. He chose prison over exile. Could I do that? No. But I it's pretty easy just to say we should all say fuck you to the leaders that are dividing us all over the world. Trump, Netanyahu, the Ayatollah, Putin. Duh, guys, it's not politics. Underneath all of those people are like 80% of the population going like, hey, I'm American, but I'm not like an asshole. Or I'm Iranian, but I'm not like an asshole. I'm Israeli, but I'm not like into killing people. Like, that's not political. That's just life, you know. I'm for happiness for the most people, period.
Thank you so much, Peter. Yeah, exactly. Let's just give it. And I can promise you right now that if I ever need brain surgery, I'm going to call you.
Yeah.
You're going to do that.
Wait a couple more months. I'm still working on it.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.